Welcome back to the class. In this lesson, we'll design the third and final section for features. And if you remember what I said in the previous lessons about designing features, it's always a good idea to mix it up. So to stay true to that, for this third batch, we'll use a different layout, and we'll also add some illustrations. So if you're ready, let's begin. Let's take a quick look at the wireframe. And as you can see, these are the two sections that we need to create. So here's how we'll do that. We're going to go back to our main design, and we're going to copy this. And let's actually make this frame a little bit bigger. We're going to paste these in here. We're going to bring up the grid, and we're going to align this nicely to the grid. And I'm going to leave about 240 pixels of distance between this element and the call to action. Let's actually see if that's enough. We'll just quickly glance at it. And I think we might need a little bit more than that, so let's go with like 320, something like that. Right, so now visually this looks balanced. This call to action looks about halfway between this element and this element. And as I was saying in a previous lesson, you don't always need to rely on exact measurements. Like for example, between this and this I have 120 pixels. So normally you would be inclined to say, okay, well, let's keep these distances equal. And so I'm going to place this at 120 pixels. But when you look at it from a bird's eye perspective, you'll see that visually it doesn't look balanced, right? And in that case, you just have to go with what feels best. And in my case, about this much looks okay to me. For the content of this section, we can grab the text from our wireframes, and we'll do the same here. But instead of security being the main title, we'll actually switch it up a little bit. We're going to use security as the little subtitle here. And as for the main title, we're going to say your data is secure. It just makes more sense like this. And then we're going to grab two subsections. And also, I want to make sure that this element spans on 6 columns and not 5, just like that, because I want to put 2 of these smaller sections which span on 3 columns each. Let's position this at 64 pixels from the element above it. Let's get rid of the icon. We don't need that. And for the text, we have what? Online banking. And let's copy this text here. Now here's a quick tip for you. If you're going to copy a piece of text from Figma and you're going to paste it in here like so, you'll notice that the style is not preserved. So the original style of the copied text is used instead. To get around that, you need to go to Edit, Paste, and Match Style, like so. Cool. So let's duplicate this, align it with the grid, and let's copy the other piece of text. And that is for data encryption. And let's go ahead again, edit, paste, and match style. Cool. So we're almost done here. The last thing we need to do is add an illustration. So we'll do a classic layout for a feature where we have an image on the side and content on the other side. Now for the illustration, and you can find links to everything that I'm using in that resources.pdf file. I'm going to be using an illustration that I got from Envato Elements. Let's bring it up. And I'm going to align the top of the elements like so. So the top of the image, I'm going to align it with the top of this element. And I'm going to position this image so that it goes outside of the grid. That's totally fine. But instead, I'm going to align this edge, this left edge, with the grid. And to keep the same kind of spacing that we used in other parts of our design, I'm going to leave this one column blank. Okay, so that is one section. Let's Command G it to create a group. And now we're going to duplicate it. We're going to move it down, let's say to 120 pixel distance between the two. And we're going to do the exact opposite. So I'm going to delete this image. I'm going to move this to the other side. And again, this is a classic way of displaying features. You do the image and the content, and then on the next row, you flip the image and the content. And here we're going to grab the second illustration. And again, I'm going to align it with this column here to leave this column blank, align it with the top, and that's it. Now the last thing to do is to update the copy or the text. So here we have support. So let's say support there. As for the main title, we're going to say great support for a great product. Here, edit, paste and match style. And the two subsections are the following: 24/7 online support. And we also have a link there at the bottom. So 24/7 online support, paste and match style. And this one is called free educational classes. So paste that in like so. And it was called free educational classes. I forgot. All right. Now the final thing to do here is to quickly create these two links. So the first one, and I'm actually gonna duplicate that that support text there, but instead of using this red color, I'm gonna use the blue color because this is a link, and this blue is currently my primary color. I'm also gonna grab this arrow, paste it in, select these two, Shift A to create auto layout, change the orientation to horizontal, make sure both of these items are aligned in the middle, and set the distance between them to 8 pixels, like so. And now we can delete this line of text and update this to say submit ticket. And one other thing we can do here is we can resize this arrow. Instead of 24, we'll make it 16 pixels. Just a little smaller because it's attached to this tiny link there. So now we can copy this. We can paste it in. We can say visit channel, and we can delete this bit. Okay. And finally, let's select everything, Command G to group, or Control G if you're on a Windows machine. And we're going to call this Features 3. Awesome. Now, before we wrap things up, I told you that these illustrations are taken or are downloaded from Envato Elements. That's a paid service. But if you want some free illustrations, let me quickly show you that right now. You can go to ondraw.co, click Browse Now, and here you can find a bunch of SVG illustrations. There are a lot of them. You can even search for a specific keyword, and what's cool about it, you can change the accent color on them really easily. And once you find one that works for you, you just click on it and you can download a PNG or an SVG. It really depends on what you want to do with it. SVG stands for Scalable Vector Graphics, and this is a vector format, which means you can resize that image as much as you want and it's not going to lose quality. A PNG is a raster format, which means if you resize it and you make it bigger than its original size, it's going to look pixelated. So it really depends on your application. But yeah, ondraw.co/illustrations, great resource for getting free SVG illustrations. All right, with the final section for features done, we're well past the halfway point in designing this landing page. If you've come this far, let me just say, great job. Now, as per usual, your task for this lesson is to create this third and final section for features. And just like I've been saying so far, put your own spin on things. Don't necessarily do exactly what I do, although that's totally okay. You can learn a lot by doing that. But it's also a good idea to do things your own way and experiment and see what the results are. Now, if you've done that already and you're ready to move on, then yeah, I guess we should get going, right? The next section on our list is the screenshot gallery. That's coming up in the next lesson, so I'll see you there.